Good evening, y'all. It's Sunday, May 2nd. Welcome back to another edition of the Wildcats and Then Some podcast. I'm your host, Deshaun. I promise y'all that I am back for good. Um, it's like I said in many of my previous podcasts, HBO Max is the best streaming service out there. There's all kind of good stuff on HBO Max. You got, the Mortal Kombat movie, which is great, by the way. Zack Snyder's Justice League. Yeah, they also got all the old shows on Cartoon Network like Powerpuff Girls, Ed and Eddie. I think I saw Courage the Cowardly Dog and Samurai Jack. Now, the other day when I was surfing through HBO Max, there was one. I was just looking for something interesting to watch, and the one show that really, well, it wasn't really a show, but it was a documentary about QAnon. And that really caught my eye. And, you know, after watching that documentary about QAnon, I just decided that no more. From now on, slowly but surely, I'm not going to use my platforms to talk about politics anymore. Now, of course, I will. I'm still going to speak out against racism, police brutality, that kind of shit. But as far as other political matters go, nah, forget it. Because if there's one thing I've learned from that QAnon video, it's just some people are just fucking dumb, and they're gonna believe whatever the hell they want, even if it's ludicrous, even if it's crazy, even if it's flat out wrong. I mean, that's the case with QAnon and their supporters. Like, they're just, it's ridiculous, man. Like, and the crazy thing is, excuse me, it's a six-part documentary. I only saw one part of the first part, and after that, I was like, okay, that's enough. Like, these motherfuckers are stupid. I mean, it's. I've always wondered why foreigners looked at Americans and thought that we were stupid, but after watching that QAnon documentary and after seeing some of these things Trump supporters say on Facebook and Twitter, the shit they believe, and I see why they think we're stupid. I mean, these Trump supporters, these motherfuckers live in their own little world. Like, they only believe what comes out of Trump's mouth. They only believe what comes from QAnon. Like, you gotta be fucking crazy to think that everyone else is lying and only Trump is telling the truth. Like, it's not too late. Leave the cult. Leave Trump alone. Like, join everyone else in the real world. Get with it or get left behind. Like, it's just ridiculous. So, yeah, no more politics from me, slowly but surely, because I'm just, trying to reason with these MAGA clanmen, women. It's like trying to talk to a brick wall. It's fucking pointless, because they're gonna live in their own little fantasy world, void of reality. They're only gonna believe what they want to believe. They think with their feelings and not with reasoning, logic, science, or any fucking thing that makes sense. Honestly, so yeah, I'm just gonna leave the political talks alone, slowly but surely. But again, I mean, I ain't gonna call out racism and speak out against police brutality whenever it comes up. Now, speaking of the police, yeah, Ashley Babbitt's family is gonna sue the Washington D.C. Police Department for killing their daughter. Which, I mean, I understand why they're doing it, but you're not gonna win because she's a fucking excuse me. She's a fucking domestic terrorist. She committed treason against her own country on January 6th when her and a bunch of other dumbass Trumpers stormed the Capitol building. It's her own fault she got shot. So, yeah, more than likely the judge is going to dismiss the case. At least he or she should. But I mean, if I was a judge, I would hear it just in case, just so I can embarrass them and be like, "Yeah, I've heard it all, but you're not, you're not getting shit." So, I mean, at least that's what I hope happens. But you never know in this country. So, enough about that. Rest in peace to Terrence Clark. Moment of silence, real quick, for Terrence. Yeah, again, rest in peace to Terrence Clark. I gotta say, when I got the notification, I thought it was a, I wouldn't say a joke, but I thought it maybe something was wrong with my ESPN app because, excuse me, I get this notification. It says Terrence Clark passed away. I'm like, he's not dead. I mean, what are y'all talking about? He just got through playing basketball. He's training for the NBA. He's not dead. But then other, it wasn't just ESPN. Other sports media outlets started to report it, and then ESPN on Sports Center they were talking about it. So I was like, okay, this is real. I mean, also rest in peace to DMX, one of the hip hop legends. Rest in peace to Black Rob. Um, when someone dies, especially when they die so young, it makes you realize that life is short and that you shouldn't take it for granted. Because Terrence Clark was only 19 years old. He had his whole life ahead of him. He was about to get drafted by an NBA team, or at least sign on to an NBA team so he could prove that he can stay on the roster. And now it's all gone. So y'all don't take life for granted. If there's anything you haven't done in your life, try to do so, because you never know when your time is coming, and when your time comes, you gotta go. You can't fight it. Again, one day we'll see you again. One day, Terrence, we'll see you again. So the 2020-2021 basketball season, it was a disaster for Kentucky. We fucking sucked. We went 9-16, got beat in the first round of the SEC tournament, and we didn't get invited to the NCAA tournament. We didn't get invited to the NIT, the CBI, none of that shit, because we were fucking terrible. We had to we had to win the SEC tournament in order to get in, and since we lost to Ole Miss, yeah, that pretty much ended any hope of getting to the NCAA tournament for Kentucky. Now, I gotta say, when the season started, I didn't expect Baylor and Gonzaga to be competing for the national championship. I didn't expect Baylor to beat Gonzaga in the national championship game, but shout out to them anyway. Good job. Now, I said at the beginning of the season that this season is a Final Four bust for Kentucky, and obviously I was wrong. We were terrible. We started off, well, I can't even say we started off good, because we won our first game of the year against Morehead State, and then from there it just went all downhill. We lost to Richmond, we lost to Notre Dame, we lost to Louisville. We lost, I think, 6 games in a row before we finally won our second game. Then we went on a little bit of a winning streak. Then we went on another losing streak. Then we go on a little winning streak again, and then we go on a losing streak. Um, we ended our regular season with a blowout win over South Carolina, but it didn't matter because we ended up losing to Mississippi State in the SEC tournament. Now it's hard to say what went wrong this season because a lot went wrong this season. I think I think a big reason why we was terrible is because we didn't have a point guard. I mean, yeah, technically Devin Askew is a point guard, but he just wasn't good. Now I don't know. I think maybe it was just nerves or something because Devin Askew was supposed to still be in high school. He was supposed to be a high school senior. Not excuse me. He was supposed to be a high school junior. He's supposed to graduate next year and then join Kentucky after next year. But instead, he reclassed so he could join Kentucky this year, and he just wasn't ready. I don't. I'm not gonna write him off. I'm not gonna say, oh, he sucks. He'll never go pro. But yeah, he had a bad year at Kentucky. I mean, it is what it is. He struggled running the offense. Most games, he would have more turnovers than assists. He didn't help much with scoring. He didn't help much with shooting, defense. Devin Askew, I mean, he's no longer with the team. He transferred to Texas, but yeah, I still think he can be good. but he was bad this year. But who knows? Maybe he just needed a fresh start. Um, Another reason why we was bad, we had no shooters except for Dante Allen. Now, BJ Boston, all the high school scouts said he was a good shooter. So I'm thinking he's going to come to Kentucky and be a good shooter, but he wasn't. Really, the only good shooter we had was Dante Allen, but Calipari wouldn't play him half the damn time because for whatever freaking reason. I mean, it's hard to win games when you don't have a point guard who can run the offense. It's hard to win when you don't have shooters, especially when you only have two. I guess Dante Allen was one of them, and Davian Mintz was the other. I mean, besides them two, nobody else on the team could shoot. Another problem with this team, we really didn't have a guy who could create his own shot. Someone you can pass the ball to and they're going to make something happen. Now, BJ Boston was supposed to be that guy, but he wasn't a good shooter. He wasn't a good finisher. I think maybe it's just because he was really thin. I mean, he's 6'6", but he only weighed like 160. Like that's not gonna cut it in the collegiate ranks. It definitely ain't gonna cut it in the NBA. Yeah, another reason why we struggled, we didn't get good production out of our big men. I mean, Olivier Sarr, yeah, every now and then he would play great on the offensive side of the ball, but he wasn't much of a defensive player. We didn't get much from Lance Ware other than some occasional hustle plays. Same with Jacob Toppin, occasional hustle plays. I mean, he made a few wide open threes, but overall he ain't a shooter either. So yeah, when you combine all that, no point guard, no shooters, no defense, not just from your big men, but from your perimeter players. Yeah, a disaster like this is gonna happen. But yeah, I think another big reason why we struggled is because John Calipari is stubborn as hell. Like, you know you don't have good shooters, so why are you gonna keep Dante Allen on the bench? You being the coach that you are, you should have drawn up some plays so he could get open, so he could get hot. That would it would open up the rest of the floor for the team, but you didn't do it. Now I'm not gonna subscribe to this notion that John Calipari can't coach. Now a lot of UK haters say, "Oh, he can't coach," but I don't agree with that because I mean he's got over 700 wins. He's coached at Massachusetts and Memphis before coming to Kentucky, and he did pretty good at both schools. Now, when he was at UMass and Memphis, he wasn't getting one and done talent every year like he's been doing at Kentucky. At Memphis, the only one and done players he had were Derrick Rose, Tyreek Evans, and DeJuan Wagner. So yeah, he had to be doing something right to have over 700 wins in his career, and he's also won over 70% of his games. So he can coach. He just has his flaws. That's what I'm saying. I mean, he's a little stubborn. I think his dribble drive offense might be a little outdated because our offenses over these last 2-3 years have looked anemic at times, especially this year. Our offense looked very anemic. I mean, we couldn't get nothing going unless we was playing against a really bad team like South Carolina. That's the only time we actually was able to do anything on offense, playing against bad teams. I mean, somehow we beat Florida. I don't know how that happened. We beat Auburn. That was another surprising one. So, yeah, hopefully next year will be a better season, but I don't know how much better it's going to be. I don't even know if we're going to be a championship team next year because we've lost a lot of talent. BJ Boston entered the NBA draft, excuse me. Olivier Sarr is entering the NBA draft. Cameron Fletcher decided to transfer, which I don't blame him for that. I'll touch on that a little bit later. Oh yeah, Devin Askew, as I mentioned earlier, transferred to Texas. Who else we lose? I don't know. Davian Mintz, he may come back for another year. He may not. I mean, hopefully he does, because we don't have much coming in next year. We got Damian Collins, who's ranked number 10 in his high school senior class. We've got two transfers coming in. Oscar Toshibwe, who played at West Virginia these last couple of years. Kellen Grady, who was a grad student transfer from Davidson. Um, I, I think there's no, we didn't get another draft. We didn't get another transfer, but I know we also got Bryce Hopkins, who's a 4-star player, and then we also got I think that's it for our recruits because Nolan Hickman was signed to Kentucky, but he decided to decommit. For what reason? I don't know. But losing Nolan Hickman is going to hurt because we don't have a lot of guards next year. We've got Dante Allen, Kellen Grady. That's it. Now the rest of the team is Keon Brooks if he doesn't transfer, Lance Ware, Jacob Toppin, Oscar Toshibwe. Shoot, what is that guy's name? It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember. But anyways, yeah, we don't have a lot of talent, and we missed out on a lot of talent as well. Chet Holmgren, the number one player, he signed to Gonzaga, I believe. Paulo Bonchero, he signed to Duke. I mean, I really wanted him to come to Kentucky. Patrick Baldwin Jr., he's a top 10 player, hasn't signed anywhere yet, but it doesn't look like he's coming to Kentucky. We lost out on Brandon Podziemski. I think I said his name right. He signed with Illinois. Now, I really wanted him because he kind of reminded me of Tyler Hero. I mean, they're both from Wisconsin. They both play with bunch of confidence. Now, Brandon, though, is a lefty. Tyler was a righty. Both white. I mean, both play with a lot of confidence. But I really wanted Brandon, but he chose Illinois. And we also missed on some good transfers. Justin Powell transferred from Auburn to Tennessee. We could have used him because he's a good 3-point shooter. I think he made 40% of his 3-pointers last year for Auburn. Plus, he still has 3 years left of eligibility because he was just a freshman. We missed out on Walker Kessler, who played for North Carolina last year. He transferred from North Carolina to Auburn. That guard from Minnesota, can't remember his name. I think it's Marcus Carr. He hasn't picked a school yet, but Kentucky is in talks with him, but that doesn't mean he's coming. Because, I mean, we was in talks with Justin Powell. We was in talks with Walker Kessler. And both of them chose other schools. So, I'm hoping for the best, but I don't think the 2021-22 season is going to be that much better for us because we don't have a very good recruiting class. We don't have enough guards on our team next year. Even though we do have some experienced transfers coming in, they got to get used to they got to adjust to Calipari's offense. So that's going to take some time. So yeah, I don't know. Next year, I mean, as long as next season isn't like this one, we went 9-16. I mean, I'll be alright. But if Kentucky misses the NCAA tournament again next year, yeah, it might be time to put Calipari on the hot seat. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like John Calipari. I'm a fan of his. I'm thankful for everything that he's done for Kentucky. But yo, you've been here for 12 years now, and you've only won one championship with us. I mean, we should have won in 2015. I mean, we probably should have won your first year too at Kentucky, but as always, something always happens. I mean, in 2010, we had a bad shooting game against West Virginia, ended up losing. 2015, yeah, we was undefeated going into the Final Four, and we just couldn't slow Sam Decker down and Frank Kaminsky. And Calipari kept letting the Harrison twins just do whatever instead of giving the ball to Karl Anthony Towns because he was working Frank. But whatever. I mean, I think he can bring Kentucky another championship, but if he don't, I mean, if we have another year like this year, yeah, he got to go. Because, I mean, Kentucky doesn't necessarily need Calipari. I mean, we've had plenty of good great coaches before him. Adolph Rupp, of course. Excuse me, Joby Hall, Rick, Tubby. So I mean, Kentucky would be fine without Calipari, just as long as we find the right coach. But I mean, he definitely got to go if we have another year like this. I mean, he's been here for a decade, so he can have one bad year. But if it happens again, he's got to go. No ifs or buts about it. Now, I mean, it will be hard to try to find a replacement for him, but I don't think it'll be that hard. Now, we might not get a high profile guy like Jay Wright, but I'm pretty sure an up and coming coach would want to take the Kentucky job and prove that he can be among the elite. So, Coach Cal, man, you need to win us another championship or at least get us to a Final Four, man, or else your ass is gonna have to be on the hot seat. That's all I'm saying. Now, moving on to Kentucky football, the NFL draft was this. Excuse me. The NFL draft was this past weekend, and we had 6 players get drafted. We also had, I think, about 3 other players sign undrafted rookie contracts. Now, the players we had got drafted, we had Jamin Davis, who went in the first round. We had what's the dude's name? I had to write it down so I wouldn't forget their name. Jamin Davis, Kelvin Joseph, Landon Young, Brandon Eccles, Phil Hoskins, and Quentin Bohanna. All of them got drafted. Yeah, Kentucky's not really a football school per se, but I mean, we got a few players in the NFL, and as long as Stoops keeps recruiting the way he does, we'll keep sending the recruits to the NFL. I mean, I'm really excited for all of them. Hopefully they do great things in the NFL. My team, the Titans, we drafted Caleb Farley. I think he's a pretty good cornerback. He had back surgery, but I think he'll be okay. I mean, Michael Porter Jr. had surgery on his back his freshman year at Missouri, and he looks fine. Now, granted, of course, football and basketball are 2 different sports, but I still have confidence that Farley's going to be okay, and he'll turn into a pretty good cornerback. I'm also excited about Dez Fitzpatrick, the receiver from Louisville. Even though it is Louisville, I mean, he was a good receiver. I'll give him that. And we really need receivers because we let Corey Davis go to the Jets. I mean, we signed Josh Reynolds, who used to play for the Rams, but I don't think he's better than Corey Davis. So who knows? Maybe Dez can do some things out there and help my Titans in their offense. Justin Fields, I feel like he should have been the second quarterback taken. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence went number 1 overall, and right after Trevor, Zach Wilson got drafted by the Jets. Now, I don't know. Me personally, I think Zach Wilson is. I think he's a boom or a bust. I mean, he kind of came out of nowhere, had a great year at BYU. He's drafted number 2 overall. I mean, I've seen some highlights and some film on him. I'm not saying he isn't good. It's just, I don't know. I'm not seeing a future franchise quarterback in him like I see in Trevor Lawrence, like I see in Justin Fields, like I maybe in Trey Lance too. But yeah, Fields should have went number. He should have been the second quarterback taken. I mean, he's got the arm, he's got the accuracy, he's got the mobility. I mean, the Bears, they got a good one. I mean, Fields is probably in the best position to succeed out of all the rookie quarterbacks. But, I mean, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Speaking of drafts, I'm reverting back to the NBA real quick. Yeah, this year, like I said, we lost some players. We lost B.J. Boston and Olivia Sarr to the draft. Now, I mean, since Calipari's been in Kentucky, we've had at least one guy get drafted in the first round every year. John Wall and Cousins and Patterson, Bledsoe, and Daniel Orton, they all went in the first round, Calipari's first year. And then Brandon Knight and Cantor went first round. Anthony Davis and Michael Kidd Gilchrist, Julius Randle, Nerlens Noel. Who else have we had as first round draft picks? Karl Anthony Towns, James Young, Jamal Murray, Scalabissiere, Bam Adebayo. De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Kevin Knox, Keldon Johnson, Tyler Hero, Emmanuel Quickly, and PJ Washington. Yeah, it's a lot of guys that got drafted in the first round, but the 2021 draft, I don't even. I'd be surprised if BJ goes first round. I mean, I know Olivier is not. I mean, I ain't saying he ain't got no skills. He got a little bit of game. He can score in the post. He can knock down mid range jumpers. Occasionally, he can knock down threes. But Olivier, he's not a very good athlete. He's not a good defender. Doesn't rebound the ball at a high level. He's not a good enough 3-point shooter to be a stretch five. So, yeah, Olivier is definitely not going first round. Now, BJ, maybe. Maybe somebody takes a flyer on him. But, excuse me, I don't know. Now, on the positive side, BJ Boston is long. 6'6", 6'10 wingspan. He's got a good handle. He's got good form on his jump shot. He's got upside. But on the negative, he's not a good finisher. I mean, oftentimes, BJ Boston would drive to the rim and miss the layup. Sometimes he'd get the foul call and knock down his free throws, but more often than not, he didn't get the calls because he played for Kentucky. I mean, referees, they always do what they can to screw us. He's skinny. I mean, he's like 160 pounds. So that ain't going to cut it in the NBA. He's not a good defender. Now, I don't think that's going to hurt him too much because, I mean, NBA isn't about defense like it used to be. Now, yes, some players still do play defense, but yeah, Boston just didn't play. He didn't put in the effort, at least not consistently. I mean, don't get me wrong, I hope he gets drafted. I mean, even if it's second round, I hope Olivier gets drafted too. Because I'm a Dallas Mavericks fan, but I support anybody. Any UK player that makes it to the NBA, I support them. So, I mean, I hope both of them get drafted, but chances are it's just going to be BJ that gets drafted, not Olivier. Maybe he'll get invited to try out with a team, but I just don't see Sarr getting drafted. All right, shifting focuses again, still on the NBA, just not the draft. Julius Randle, that motherfucker should win most improved player. He is killing it this year for the Knicks. He's averaging 24, 10, and 5. He's shooting 42% from the 3-point line, 46% from the field. And he's got the Knicks, I think, top 5 in the Eastern Conference. Last time I looked, it was I think their record was 36 and 26. I mean, the Knicks are good. They surprised me. I honestly didn't think the Knicks was going to be worth a damn this year. I thought they was going to suck again, but they're actually pretty damn good. And a big reason for that is because of Julius Randle's improvement. I mean, his improvement got him to the All-Star game this year. And, of course, he's going to win Most Improved Player. It'll be a travesty if he don't, because, I mean, who else is worthy of Most Improved Player? Christian Wood? I mean, yeah. He has improved a lot, but Houston sucks. Jeremy Grant, maybe. I mean, he's had a pretty good year, but Detroit sucks. So it's got to be Julius Randle, right? I mean, his numbers improved. The Knicks are going to the playoffs for the first time in years. So Julius Randle's got to win Most Improved Player. I mean, really. Randle, though, he's been doing great this year. It took him a while to become a star because he wasn't always this good. He wasn't doing this in LA. He wasn't doing this in the 1 year he played in New Orleans. But I mean, I'm glad to see Julius doing great. Hopefully he'll continue to make the All-Star game for many years to come. Hopefully he'll join Anthony Davis, Rondo, and Tayshaun Prince and other UK Wildcats who won NBA championships. Because Julius deserves it. Well, all Kentucky players deserve championship rings, but I mean, it doesn't always work out that way. But yeah, Julius, I'd say, based on this year alone, I'd say he's been the third best power forward in all the NBA this year. Only Giannis and, well, I don't know, maybe he's number two. I mean, I was gonna say AD, but AD's been hurt. He's missed like half the season. He's put up good numbers, but he hasn't been dominating like we're used to seeing. I mean, I still think when Anthony Davis is healthy, he's the best power forward in the game. But Julius Randle is giving Giannis and AD a run for their money because he's been killing it this year. I think, me personally, I'd say no other power forward in the NBA today is playing better than Julius Randle this year. And that goes for Zion Williamson too. I mean, he's good, but he went to Duke, so fuck him. Just kidding. I mean, Zion's good. I think he's gonna be a star, but right now, I'm just slow the hype train down just a little bit. He ain't the best power forward in the game, and he could be one day, but right now, it's still AD when he's healthy. Just my personal opinion, that is. But yeah, shout out to all the other Kentucky players doing their thing in the NBA. Bam Adebayo, AD. Now that he's glad he's healthy, glad to see him back out there on the court. Um, yeah, shout out to Jamal Murray. He was having a good season before he tore his ACL. Hopefully, come back strong next year, Jamal. Who knows? Maybe you can help the Nuggets win the NBA Finals. Shout out to Tyler Hero. I mean, he's been struggling, but hey, he's young. He's only what 21 years old, millionaire, lives in Miami. Like, plenty of stuff to distract you. I mean, as long as Tyler doesn't do anything really stupid, I wouldn't worry too much about him. I mean, yeah, he needs to concentrate on basketball a little bit more because he's had kind of a sophomore slump, but I wouldn't worry too much about Tyler Hero. He's gonna be okay. Um, what other NBA thoughts did I have? Oh yes, I think Nikola Jokic should win MVP. I mean, he's been the most consistent star player this year. He's been playing great all year. I think the Nuggets are third in the Western Conference. He hasn't missed games due to injuries, so it should be Jokic. Embiid, he's at times this year looked like a MVP, but he's missed too many games because of injuries. LeBron has looked like an MVP when healthy, but he's missed too many games due to injuries. Um, Harden has looked like an MVP at times, but I mean, you play with two other stars, Durant and Kyrie, and now I'm not saying he can't win it, but Harden, he's also had injuries too. Curry, now a lot of people in social media are saying that Curry should be top five in the MVP conversation, but I say no, he shouldn't. I ain't saying that to hate, but Curry, the Warriors are 10th place in the Western Conference. I mean, yeah, Curry's putting up video game like numbers, but they're 10th place. Like, you can't win MVP when your team is not even in the damn playoff hunt. Now, I mean, the season's not over yet. Golden State could still make the playoffs, but there's only like 10 games left. You gotta win them all. I mean, if Golden State wants to make the playoffs, they're gonna have to play in that little play-in tournament between the 7 and 10 seeds in order to see who gets the 7 and 8 seed. By that point, Curry's probably gonna be burned out. But hey, don't get me wrong, he's playing great. But I'm not. If I had an MVP vote, I'm not giving it to Curry because your team might not even make it to the playoffs. I mean, yeah, I get it. He doesn't have a lot of help, but I mean, it it sucks. I know you don't have your super team no more. Klay Thompson's hurt, so you got to put up these big numbers just for your team to have a chance. But again, you're not winning MVP when your team is in 10th place. Especially when a lot of people say Curry doesn't have help, but I mean, his team ain't that bad. They're just inconsistent as fuck. I mean, I've seen other star players take worse teams to the playoffs than this, like LeBron when he played in Cleveland when he was younger. And when he was 22, he led Cleveland to the NBA Finals with a much worse team than what Curry has. So I don't want to hear it. Anyways, oh, another point I wanted to make before I go, talk a little bit about TV and stuff. If you haven't seen the last episode of Shameless, turn off this video. I don't want to spoil it for you. But yeah, after 11 seasons, Shameless is over. And yeah, the ending was a little anticlimactic. I mean, nothing unexpected, but anticlimactic. Frank died in the hospital alone, and of course, nobody knew. At the beginning of the episode, Frank was passed out on the couch. Everyone thought he was dead because he had shot up some heroin, and they think he OD'd. But Frank woke up, walked around, and some some priests sent him to the hospital where he ends up dying later on in the episode. Yeah, nobody knew he was there. He died alone, and I mean, it's like they didn't even care. But I mean, can you blame him? Frank was a shitty father. He was lazy, didn't work, lived off the, he gamed the system. I mean, living off food stamps and doing whatever to make a quick buck. He was always drunk, always on drugs. Yeah, definitely not father of the year material. But me personally, I think the way it should have ended, they should have had, for one, they should have had Fiona come back because she was one of the top dogs on Shameless. I mean, her and Frank, they made the show. So it would have only been right to have Fiona come back, at least for the last episode. They could have had a funeral for Frank. Now, I mean, they didn't have to say nice words for Frank. I mean, they could have said how they really felt about Frank and buried him in the ground and been done with it. But knowing Frank, he probably didn't even have life insurance. Yeah, Lip, he ended up getting 75,000, or he was offered 75,000 for the house. I assume he took it because Ian told Lip that he can have his share of the money because Lip was going to sell the house and split the money up among his siblings. We still don't know whether Carl is Tish's baby daddy. Y'all remember Tish, the girl he hooked up with, that he tried to say she raped him because he wanted to have sex with a condom, but she can't have sex with a condom because she is allergic to latex, but didn't tell him. So yeah, it kind of was rape, but yeah, we don't know if that baby is Carl's. We don't know what's gonna happen to Debbie. Like her life is just all kind of fucked up. But I mean, there's not gonna be a season 12. I mean, a season 12 might just be overkill because you don't want to. I mean, all good things come to an end. You don't want to extend your stay and ruin your legacy. You know what I mean? That's what happened with Shaq. I mean, Shaq, yeah, when he took the league by storm, won Rookie of the Year, was a great player, won championships, and then towards the end of his career, he was fat, lazy, didn't care. He was just out there collecting a check. Like if Shaq would have retired after winning his fourth championship, shoot, might have been the greatest player of all time. I don't know. Well, not the greatest player of all time, but greatest sinner of all time. But anyways, like I was saying, Shameless is a great show. It's one of my personal favorites. I think it ended kind of anticlimactically, but I guess. But again, all good things come to an end. There doesn't need to be a season 12 because it might just be overkill, might ruin the legacy of the show. But yeah, now that Shameless is over, I mean, I've found a couple new shows to binge watch. The Witcher, well, that's not really a new show, but I started watching that again. Love it. Superman and Lois. If you have HBO Max, you should check out Superman and Lois. That's a good ass show. Um, yeah, there was another show that I was thinking of. Oh, Lucifer. If you haven't seen season 5, part 1, or if you haven't seen any of Lucifer, watch it. Please do. But do it before May 28th, because that's when part two of season five comes out on Netflix. I, I mean, it's I've been waiting a long time for this, so I'm glad Lucifer's coming back. Hell, I might binge watch it again just so I can refresh my memory. So much I love that show. But anyways, y'all, I'm back for good. I promise. Be on the lookout next Sunday for another edition of the Wildcats and Then Some podcasts. Again, this is your number one source for all things Kentucky Wildcats, NBA, NFL, as well as pop culture. Good night, motherfuckers.